Happy Saturday morning. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Yes, I don't care if I'm living in South Florida, the name stays, and not only knows I have an awful lot invested into that name, but I just want to let everybody know we have a special edition of The Real and the Rare. But let me preface what The Real and the Rare is going to be. The Real and the Rare is going to be a broadcast for which we promote books and all kinds of entertainment. Okay, so going forward, I couldn't find myself with a better person to kick off a new era on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network than Irma Parone. Irma, welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. Before we get to the broadcast here, I want to let everybody know out here that the audio version of the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. And this show is being broadcast around the world. So this is not no local bad boy. This is going everywhere. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? One way to do it is participate in the chat room. You catch my attention and I'll bring you in here with us. Also, send your topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Tribune South. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. And a big shout out to Candy Ebling, who does an unbelievable job putting it all together for us on the control side. So with that said, okay, we have a special broadcast. Somebody I've known a long time since I've been with the Coral Springs Chamber of Commerce. And she's always been in my corner with whatever I've tried to do. As outrageous as some of these things are, she's always say, stick with it. I know you're going to do well because you have the work ethic. And like a mother figure that she is to me, she gives me moral support. So, you know, Irma, that to me is priceless in its own right.
Well, it's my pleasure to help, Scott. You're my buddy.
Well, you're my buddy, too. I got to tell you, though, about Irma. What's amazing about her was I brought her on a previous show with Peter Ween and Delray Beach doing the sports exchange. She says, Scott, I don't know anything about sports. So we meet over at a neutral location. She understands we need to repair this thing. And I said, Irma, follow my lead and you're going to do all right. How did that turn out?
You carried me through it, Scott. It went great, which shocked me. I was scared as many people as I speak in front of to talk about anything that had to do with sports kind of scared me. So
yeah, well, you blew it away with no problem.
Yeah, you made it fun.
Well, I do the best I can. I mean, you know, you can only do the best you can with the material you had to work with, but you were a good student, and I'm really glad it worked out. Yeah, Peter Ween and I did the sports exchange on the WEI network, and, you know, I used to bring in guests from the chamber from time to time if I felt good about them. Irma was definitely one of the first ones I brought in because I felt something about her that she had a good story to tell. And you know what? Why not bring her on and let her play show and tell to the rest of the chamber and give her some exposure at the same time. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to before we get into the meat of the broadcast, I'm going to have Irma talk about herself a little bit. So Irma, please introduce yourself of what you do. And I've already alluded to the fact that we met at the Coral Springs Chamber of Commerce. Give the audience an overview.
So my name's Irma Parone. My company's Parone Group, and my training is in organizational development. So I help organizations with the people side of their business, making sure their structure's sound, that they can hold people accountable, raise the bar, treat them well, stay focused on the right things to move the company forward, surveys, company surveys, employee surveys, things like that. I'm a speaker and an author. And what else, Scott?
I don't know. You tell me. Joshua Bernstein is watching our show right now. What's going on, Scott?
Hey, Joshua.
Look at this guy. He's
a great guy. I love Joshua.
Well, he's active all during the week when we're talking
sports.
He?
Yeah, he's a great guy.
This guy's unbelievable. He's going to be getting on the show at some point or another when I drag him in here, but he's one of my good friends there.
He's another one we met at the chamber. Oh, yeah, I'm a trustee for the chamber, an ambassador on the education committee. It's a good organization to be involved with.
Yeah, I have no problem. I took a year and a half off from it to try to spend more time developing our platform, rejoined when I thought the time was right. And I think the philosophy that I have now towards building the Tribune, especially in our community, is far different than it was when it was initially. Sometimes, Irma, I know in life you have to step back a little bit, reevaluate, and then recharge a little bit when you know philosophically your business plan needs a little work before you can feel confident about approaching it. So
Yep, good strategy.
that's what we're doing. That's why we're back. So, all right, Irma, there's a side I want people to know about you, and I was inspired by you handled your cancer battle through pre-screening. Why don't you go over and tell us more about that?
Well, it was, I just had my 2 year remission celebration last week. It was, it was kind of a rough year for me.
Right.
They had detected it in pre-screening. So the reason I post about it is so people will do pre-screening because that saved my life. I went through surgery and radiation and aggressive chemo, lost all my hair, but I'm rocking it. I breezed through it and I'm doing good. And just please do all your pre-screening.
Okay. All right. So, what inspired you to write the book Win, and how did you come up with the amazing title Win? The problem solving model to win exponentially with customers, employees, and your bottom line. I was amazed when I saw that title.
Well, the
Seriously.
title is WINX. So if you see win and then the X in front of it, it's really WINX. It's all one word, the WINX. And the reason that I wrote the book, well, I've been trying to write a book for 5 years. So I started with leadership because that's what I help companies do, make sure that they're really helping their team succeed. And it was so broad, and I kept narrowing it, narrowing it, narrowing it. And finally, someone says, "You know what you are absolutely amazing at, and that's problem solving." And that's really what I do. I help people identify what their issues are and problem solve. So that's why I um, decided to focus on problem solving model that worked for me throughout the years.
So as we go deeper into the book, obviously one of the things that stood out to me is I like the way you titled it "Your Bottom Line," and because I've always believed, Irma, in the win-win situation of building something from scratch. If I inherit something good, I lose interest, and I could say I have what is it, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. I
Uh-huh.
get bored when things are good, but when I get my hands dirty, okay, I can build it from the ground up. That's when you see a little bit of gratification. But when you talk about the fact that to me exponentially with customers, employees, and your bottom line. That's a loaded statement there, isn't it?
Well, the magic of the book, and it's done very well. In fact, one of the awards it won was an Outstanding Creator Award. The magic of the book is it combines problem solving with culture.
Right.
And my whole point is it's a triangular view. And when you're looking at winning, you want to make sure if just I win, that's short term. But if my customers always also win and my employees and my bottom line, that's exponential win that will last forever. So that's the focus. There's a whole process on problem solving, but the evaluation piece is always, looking at things, but how does it impact this person? Because every decision we make or issue we act on changes us and others in an impactful way. So it's a bigger picture than just winning.
Well, yeah, maybe a bigger picture than winning, but when you get 4 awards on this book and it's your 1 year anniversary, I'll bet you had to be extremely proud of that.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the book. When it first came out and I had my first uh, book signing, I was scared to death that nobody would show up and people would hate it. I had a dream the night before that people came over and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, nobody likes your book." I mean, it was a bad dream.
Wow.
But I will tell you, it's got a lot of great reviews, and I'm delighted.
Oh, that's good. I mean, like you said, you said it took you 5 years to write a book. You know how long it's been for me wanting to write a book, and I haven't done it a whole lot longer than that. I mean, I've
Yeah,
been
it
thinking
was
about it.
hard. It's hard to do for me. I'm not a natural writer, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I had a mission, and then I had cancer in the middle of it too, so that
Right.
kind of slowed me down a little bit. But it's well worth the effort. Do it.
It's only taken me 40 years to want to be able to get to do it. So let me ask you an interesting question about writing the book.
Yeah.
Is it published by anybody or did you self-publish it?
I self-published.
And tell me the advantages that you had by self-publishing the book.
I just didn't know any better. So that was just the easiest route for me to go.
Okay.
I might write one or two other small books that connect with that book,
Right.
and I might go a different route. But I mean, that was just the easiest thing for me to do, just because I didn't know what I didn't know. Right. And it worked for me.
Well, I've met a lot of people that have encouraged me to get it self-published. And, I have a lot of connections where I can go either way. It just depends on when I get around to do it. I'm to a point where my time is so buried that I might actually, if you can imagine this, being a writer for 43 years, might have to dictate it to somebody else to do it because I'm so consumed with what I do, the Tribune, the broadcasting side. I have this king of the road hat for a reason because I travel a lot to try to get content. So I don't know. Stay tuned for that one, folks.
Well, and if anybody needs help with that, I have people that I connected with, because again, it wasn't my, I needed to learn a lot. It's not just about what you know, it's about how you format it and all that stuff. So I can connect you with somebody who could help you.
That would be
At least know the direction to go in, right?
That'd be appreciated. Well, one thing I did notice about your book that anybody who has questionable eyesight should be able to do. First of all, it isn't easy to read because your print is pretty good size, and it's only 169 pages with good, easy. I don't need a magnifying glass to read your book. I mean, the print's good size, and as I understand, you told me that you also have an audiobook. Is that correct?
I do. So it's in all four formats. You can get it through ebook, audiobook, paperback, and hardcover.
Very good. So there you go, folks. And Irma will give you that information later on in the show. All right. So we're going to talk about key chapters in the book. And I know that when we explained it, okay, Irma, you were talking about the problem solving model 8 steps. You can go over all of those steps to give everybody an overview about, each and every one, because I was actually putting it in some groups here on Facebook. And I'm going to tell you, whether it's podcasters or broadcasters, the only way they're going to be profitable is they have to find a good business strategy. And I told them, watch this show. You might be able to finance, because a lot of times what'll happen in our industry, people have to buy airtime because nowadays those great radio jobs are not there anymore. So the only way to get on, whether it's terrestrial radio or what we're doing here and a combination of others, said you need to watch this show. And I guarantee that as time ticks on, this show is going to hit so many people. It's just one of those things when I'm promoting that book, because a lot of people wonder, oh, I've been putting all this free time in, and what am I going to get out of it? Well, if they have any, if they have any sense, which I know a lot of them do, they should tune in this, because I realize in my mind that when you do something like this, okay, this is the way to do it. You have to have a good business acumen to market your talent. And that's what I say. And if you don't, well, you can do it for free. It's a hobby. And we're not looking to do that, are we?
Right. Most companies are not.
Right.
Are not. So going through the steps, the first step is identify the problem. And I know people think that's odd. They think they know what the problem is, but in many, many cases, they don't. And a little test for you is, if you continue to have the same problem over and over, even though you've tried things, you're probably working on the wrong problem. For example, I work with a lot with employers, and a lot, people have called me and said, why am I hiring wrong? Well, when I've dug into the data, I did the reviews, I contacted the people that left, that wasn't the problem at all. So if you keep working on the wrong problem, you're going to spend money, time, and effort. So really look at, is this the problem I should be working on? The second step is, now that you know what the problem is, what's the root cause of the problem? Because just putting a Band-Aid on the problem will not fix it. In fact, sometimes it hurts it. So it talks about how to really dig into the root cause. And then the third step is to evaluate the impact of that problem against your company, your customers, and your employees. And it's not just for, like, if it's a school, it could be for your students, your teachers, and your faculty, or whatever. But look at the impact. Some people keep kicking the can down the road and don't realize how devastating that is to other to not just them, but other people. So it's really evaluate the impact of the current problem, because a no decision
Right.
is a decision, right? So if you say, I'm not going to do anything, you've decided to just go with status quo. So if you're not making money today and you keep it the way it is, you're not going to be making money tomorrow, right?
Right.
The fourth one is a lot of different ideas on problem solving steps, from getting feedback to not, the danger of the single story. People hear one thing and they believe it. It's really how to step outside that zone. It's funny because I don't want to talk about politics, but I watch both conservative, I'm sorry, and liberal, my apologies,
That's all right.
news stations, so that I can hear the whole story. Otherwise, you only get half. To doing brainstorming and a lot of other ideas and stories in the problem solving section. The five is, once you come up with your top three, and this is the power, right? That's the win times three. It's the evaluating each of those
Right.
outcomes against the customer, the company, and the employee. And when you think through it, it doesn't sound as challenging as when you write it down. And there's downloadable forms in my book, from my book. I give you a website to go to, and you could reuse the forms, you could fill them in. And
Right.
when you start looking at impact for each of those top ideas, the right one will come right up. It's pretty magical, if I do say so myself.
Okay.
Step six is the decision step, and that's in two parts. For larger organizations, often they have their senior leadership team coming up with different ideas. And so that piece of the decision step is helping those leaders put together a proposal or a suggestion for the decision maker, what to look at, how to explain it, what to do, what not to do, to be very honest. Here's the pros and here's the cons, right? Because everything has a pro and a con, so that they could put together a proposal. And then the other piece is for the decision maker, because they have the final, they have to look at everything to make sure it's the right decision. Step seven is prepare for impact. So after all this work, why would you have to prepare for impact?
Right.
A lot of times you might know why you made this decision, but your employee, your team, they don't understand it. They've got to see the big picture.
Right.
So explaining it, how do you get all your team on the same page so that they're all talking about it the same way? And then the last step is implement the decision. And things aren't just, once you make a decision and you implement it, you have to plan it, you have to assign people, you have to follow up, and then you have to shake it out. And when I say shake it out, I mean, 3, 6, 9, 12 months later, put a date on your calendar today and look at it and say, did I make the right decision? So that's very quickly what each step is about.
All right, Irma, we're going to the chat room. Ready? Here
Yoki doke.
I got Mickey Delaney. Good morning
Hey.
from Washington State. Guess what? This guy got up early for you.
Well, good morning, Mickey.
He's out at, you realize it's 7:30 Pacific time?
Oh my goodness.
See, there you go.
Mickey, I hope you're laying down and listening to this.
I have a feeling he's watching it. All right. Well, Candy Ebeling, you know who she is, right? Great book, helps you think about your decisions. Okay.
Thank you. Leave an Amazon review if you've read it.
She's getting through it, but she will. And back to Mickey. Shared the show. Guess what? He likes it.
Thank you, Mickey. Thank you. Thank you.
My main Washington State guy. I told you this thing in just in the local area. It's going everywhere. And this is just Saturday. Wait till we find out how things go over the weekend. But we're off to a really good start. People, obviously are interested because it is a business thing. You have a lot of business people out there. And I know that this is a book that any business owner can use, let alone only any business owner. I'd like to take it to the extreme, Irma, that a lot of people that aren't in business could be doing it, or you never even know whether or not. You have insurance people, lawyers, and independent contractors. It seems like a very universal book.
Well, the thing is,
places.
There's only one type of business that this book wouldn't help. And that's a business that never has any problems or never has to make any decisions. So if you know any of those companies, they don't need it. Right. But you are right. This book, I've gotten stories from people who said that they read the book and it helped their marriage because now they look at things a little differently. They don't look at just their impact, but how would this decision impact my husband or my children? So, yeah, it's written for businesses, but it has impacted many different types of people.
Okay. All right. There's a story that really intrigued me about this. So I want you to break it down a little bit more than I was able to do it. You're talking about ET between Mars and
Oh,
M&M's and Hershey. You got to get to this one. This is just
that that
surreal.
that was a fun one. When I did a lot of research for this book, and Steven Spielberg offered Mars to have their M&Ms on the movie E.T.
Right.
$1 million contract or something like that. And they turned it down because they were afraid that kids would be afraid of the ugly, ET. And so they turned it down. However, Hershey's took them up on it. And that's how Reese's Pieces got in there. And it ended up having a $20 million positive impact. So, looking at it, I mean, when you're doing your problem solving and decision making, they were afraid of the ugly ET, but think of all the characters, Beauty and the Beast. There's so many that the characters are kind of loved because of how they look. So one bad decision really hurt Mars or really extremely helped Hershey's, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know of any place where I can spend $20 million to even get to Mars. And the only thing I ever knew about Mars before was the old show that I used to go ahead and watch was, oh, what was that?
Mars M&Ms. It was
Oh
the
no,
M&M.
my favorite
Yeah.
Martian was the one I liked.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my
Remember
gosh.
that?
Now you're traveling back in time.
Well, I'm traveling back in time, Norma, because I'm king of the road.
Indeed you are. Indeed you are.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the fact that Hershey's cleaned up and made an incredible business decision, and
Yeah.
$20 million is lost, we're not talking $20, 20,000, 20 million. I
And
mean,
that's when I did the research.
right.
So,
So when did you do the research to come up with those numbers?
well, over, probably the last couple years is when I did most of the research for the book.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it intrigues me. Anytime I've always thought that you put a win in front of something to me, and even though you have a win X, okay, well, what's the difference? It's all about winning, anyways. No matter what, every time you buy a book, you got to remember the cover of the book, in my opinion, probably does more to catch somebody's eye than anything else, just to get them to pick it and look at it.
I'll tell you the mistake I made though.
What's that? That's right. Flash it up.
Well, the book is WINX, but when people look at it, they think it's win because the X is the other mistake I made was that I have WINX altogether. In other words, there's no space. Now,
Right.
the problem with that is there's a child's book series.
Mm-hmm.
So when you first type in WinX, all one word under books, all these kids' books come up first. So I always tell people put WINX and then dash Irma and it'll come up.
That's okay. No problem. That'll be a good thing for people when they Google you anyways to find out. And in a few moments, I'm gonna let you tell everybody how to get the book in a second. So, as you continue your stuff with the Chamber of Commerce, what are some of the things that you like to do in more detail, Irma, that helps you market yourself? Are you getting, well, first of all, it's a two-part question. Are you getting any response, or are people buying the book from the Chamber of Commerce?
Absolutely. The chamber is great. I mean, the thing about the chamber is you have to give to get, right?
Right.
I mean, I do a lot of speaking presentations, and one is your networking working? Because people who go there and just try to get, I go in and I try to help other people. The more you can help other people, the more they will remember you. So I always recommend to people when you go into a chamber, get involved, get to know people, let them get to know you, and let them see that you're not the one who's just trying to push their card. I'm Irma, I'm the best. I'm Irma, I'm the best. But rather, hey, tell me about you. what's important to you? What do you need now? How can I support you?
Right.
Even if I can't use their business, there's often a way, like the book, right? If you read it, writing a review, that doesn't cost any more money,
Right.
but it helps me. Other people might want you to share their articles or,
Right.
whatever. So get involved and see how you could help other people so that they remember you and like you.
So, what other types of events do you go to at the chamber? Are there any specific ones that you're committed to a lot?
Well, I try to go to there's a once a month, there's a breakfast on Tuesdays. I forget what it's called. Um, but I try to go to that. There's a professional women's meeting once a month or once every 2 months that I try to go to. They have a lot of events. I don't do too many evening events.
Yeah.
I don't, by evening I'm kind of I'm drained because I'm a morning person. But they're great events. I mean, a lot of people turn up for those. I think it's really a matter being in a chamber referral group,
Right.
which I think you're in one,
Yeah,
right?
I am. Yeah, actually, the one I'm in is with Andrea Jacobs, and I'll tell you, I've known Andrea a long time, and I think the world of Andrea. I do.
Yeah, she's great.
She
She's great.
she
Yeah.
gave me some great advice the other night. She said, whatever you do, when you come to our group, I want you to relax. And she said, let everybody go out there and do the best they can to help you promote it on their own. This is what you do in the group. It's let you have a lot of people speaking on your behalf to other members.
Right.
And I've never heard such good advice than I did with Andrea. So
Yeah.
Andrea, when you're watching, okay, this show, then you know you're in my heart. All right, back to the chat room. Irma, come on, you ready?
I'm
All
ready.
right, let's do it. George Icorn. Chambers are such an important part of the local community. I guess you can attest to that, right?
Hey, George, you're right. If
Yeah.
wherever you live, get involved in your chamber.
All right, we'll double up with Mr. Icorn. Okay. Are the chamber events open to members only, or can anyone in any business attend?
Well, you could usually you can attend the breakfast meetings and things like that. You just pay a little higher, a couple dollars extra for the meal. The reason you want to join is to really be a part of the community.
Right.
But, go to a few events, meet some people. If you're in Coral Springs, look for me. I would be happy to meet you and help you, and many other people would. It's a great place.
And by the way, just so you know, George Icorn is contacting you from his YouTube channel in Detroit, Michigan.
Oh,
My goodness.
thanks for checking in, George.
I tell you, how many friends you can make on this thing, right? And that you never even knew until they finally take a look and what we do. So, I mean,
That's right.
that's really what it's all about, anyways. As I told you before, this is going worldwide. We're not sitting in here, with a smaller radius of people at all. We're ranching out and
Well,
helping
George,
these.
come and visit South Florida. We'd love to have you visit.
Well, there you go, George. You made a friend in Coral Springs. So, when you talk about the book in its totality, though, what is the one thing that you want somebody to take out of it? It's hard to take a ton of things out of it, but there's when I go to things where if I go to a seminar and things like that, if you take one or two things out of it, then you definitely feel it was a good use of time.
So I'll give you two. One is,
Okay.
again, make sure that you're working on the right problem. You wouldn't believe how often, and I mean how often people are working on the wrong thing. But the other thing is to really look at a bigger picture. When we were born, we were dependent on our parents. We couldn't do anything for ourselves.
Right.
And then as we grew up, they taught us rightfully to be independent, to take care of ourselves, to make decisions that would, work out in the long term for ourselves. But what we don't learn a lot about is how to be interdependent, right?
Okay.
This world is full of people. And the more we could learn to help each other, then the more it'll come back to us.
Mm-hmm.
So learn how to be interdependent. Make sure you're looking at things from all sides, from the
Right.
customer, the employee, and your bottom line.
Okay. Back
I'm
to the
seeing George's question. Are there any perks like discounts to chamber members on sports
sports.
events or entertainment tickets? I think each chamber is probably different.
Right.
We have a lot of discounts, member discounts that we get. I don't I don't have the answer to that
Well,
because
I think you did. I mean, every chamber goes out there, and I've seen other chambers where they'll assemble a group of people and have a party go down there. So you're right, Irma. You answered the question very well. It depends on each particular chamber and what they do. There might be some group things where a bunch of people go down there and pay all the drinks and all the food, whatever, and some you just there's other things. And I want to put a teaser out there now that he mentioned that, and I'm working on finalizing this, but I'm hoping on Thursday night to have a ticket broker on here, but I'm still working on some details. I'll keep you posted here on my social media information, the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network, as I get closer to that decision. So I guess the one thing that's important to ask you is this, okay? Ken, we all know you have to save the best for last. So of course, not talking Vanessa Williams in the song, but this time we're saving the question to be the best for last. How can you get the book and how can people reach you?
well, people can reach me through LinkedIn, through my website. There's a contact me page. My website is paronegroup.com. But if you're on LinkedIn, I'm very easy to find on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. And those are the two that I'm on the most, especially LinkedIn. You can get my book either on my website, it'll take you right to the Amazon account, or go to Amazon and just type in WINX, all one word, and then just put dash Irma or dash Irma Parone, and it'll come right up. And you can get all four modes on there, including the audiobook, and just about anywhere audiobooks are sold. And some libraries have it. So you might even be able to get it free at a library. Check and ask.
I'm assuming that it's involved with a lot of the retailers as well, like Barnes and Noble. Do they carry it?
Barnes and you can order it through Barnes and Noble. They don't have it on their bookshelf because it's self-published, and they don't
Oh,
put
I see.
self-published books on their. I learned that after I self-published.
Yeah, but you know what? That's a good point. One for people that are self-published, I mean, and I never knew that they don't put it on self-published,
But you
it's,
can still get it. You can order it through them, and they will get it for you, and they'll have it shipped right to your house.
wow. George has another thing. Why don't we roll with the chat, huh, Arm? What do you
Let's
think?
do it.
All right. I think chambers of commerce are very important, and you have been a great interview today. So there you go, Irma.
Well,
You get
thank
your message
you,
out there.
George. Go check out your chamber. Everybody should do it. They will give a lot of good information. They'll share with you what the benefits are, and again, get to know the people.
All right, let me go over some other information. We mentioned it earlier in the broadcast. We're going to mention it later in the broadcast as we near the end of the Real and the Rare. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Manmouth. Please be joined this morning by Irma Parone, my colleague over at the Coral Springs Chamber of Commerce. I think it's Coconut Creek, but I only know it one way. So it takes me a little
Coral
while.
Springs Coconut Creek Regional Chamber of
All right,
Commerce.
well, you think I'm going to remember that? Come on, seriously, I'm trying to do the best I can, but at least you can correct it for me on the fly, and I'll accept that. So, not looking to offend our friends over at Coconut Creek, but it's been a while, so I know they added the Coconut Creek version, so at least you did it and saved me there. All right, with that said, the audio version of The Real and the Rare can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you think I talk fast, I probably do. I do everything fast, so what's the difference? This show is being broadcast around the world. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also like, comment, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? Easy. Participate in the chat room. That's one way to do it. And otherwise, you can just send your topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. Want to advertise cost efficiently? Call me, 954-304-4941. If you guys are lottery players and you know anything about these numbers, if you win the lottery, I don't want to know about it with my phone number, okay? Just a little piece of information out there. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And on Twitter, you can find me at Tribune South. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Of course, under Scott Morganroth, okay? And our website's www.southfloridatribune.com. And once again, shout out to Candy Ebeling, who does a masterful job putting it together. And also a special shout out to all those individuals who participated in the chat room. It's very encouraging for us that we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make every show what it is. And if I'm a perfectionist, I'm guilty as charged. I don't put my name on a bad broadcast because I feel with every show that we do, my reputation on the line. And, people say I'm hard on myself. Well, you know what? Too bad. That's just the standard for which we're trying to get things done. George, I want to thank you as well for participating. And once again, Joshua and Mickey as well. So we had a great turnout tonight, Candy as well. So meanwhile, Irma, it's been a great opportunity to spend some time with you on a Saturday morning. After the show, Candy and Evelyn and I will be going to Lone Depot Park to cover the Marlins in the Oakland A's, soon to be the Las Vegas A's. So, you know what? I'm just looking forward to get to the ballpark, cover the Marlins. I love baseball more than any sport. I spend a lot more of my time with baseball because the demands of how the network is starting to turn out now takes me to a point where I'm limited to go to certain things, and I still want to put everything I've got in to the infrastructure of the Tribune and the broadcasting network. But baseball has always been number one in my book. I've only been covering it for 40 some odd years anyways. In fact, I'll make one last reference about baseball. The first major event I ended up covering was the 1981 baseball winter meetings in Hollywood, Florida at the Diplomat Hotel. And you can't ask for a first good interview when Tom was sort of the legendary Hall of Fame manager for the LA Dodgers. And I'm going to tell you what I learned from Tommy and all the great writers there. Tom Gage as well, who's one of my good friends and mentors in the business, and Phil Pepe out of New York. The list goes on and on, but those are the people that and Tony DeMarco out in Arizona. You need mentors, Irma, and I would assume that as we close the show, how important are mentors in your life here, and does that impact some of the people, that are reading the book?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, mentors. I learned so much from other people. I don't know where I'd be without great mentors. So, yes, be a good mentor. Get a good mentor. They're life-changing.
Well, like I said, there's no better way to start a Saturday morning, Irma, than with you. And I hope everybody benefits by this broadcast. And I look forward to seeing you at more and more chamber events as time goes on. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I feel a special bond to you because we've always had that mutual admiration for one another. And I think that's something that really makes you special. And that's why I'm glad to be able to try to do my best to help you promote the book any way I possibly can. So
thank you, Scott. I'm grateful.
All right. So meanwhile, on behalf of Irma Parone, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thanking you for joining us on this edition of The Real and the Rare. There will be more Real and the Rare broadcasts coming up in the near future. So with that said, Irma, I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you soon enough. Here we go. And have a good weekend, everybody. Be safe.
Bye, everybody.